With your diet during pregnancy, you're sending like a little postcard to your baby about what the world is going to be like. If you eat very low protein during pregnancy, your baby could be getting the message to just keep his muscles small because he's going to be born into a world with low protein. I'm hoping that this book is going to offer to parents a little bit of a step-by-step guide to navigate that landscape and get really the biggest bang for their buck in terms of what are the 4 key things you can do to improve your baby's nutrition during pregnancy.
We love blood sugar balance.
Yes.
We love nutrient density for pregnancy. And we love turtlenecks.
Ribbed turtlenecks.
I know. Female Steve Jobs.
You're listening to Be Well by Kelly Levesque.
Jessie Inchauspé in the house.
Hi, Kelly.
We're twinning.
I know. This was not on purpose. We both shut up wearing a turtleneck.
I love it. We love blood sugar balance.
Yes.
We love nutrient density for pregnancy. And we love turtlenecks. We're like
ribbed turtlenecks.
I know. Female Steve Jobs.
Yeah. Whoa. I don't know about that, but at least we're matching. So
yes. Well, I feel like my audience has to have already been introduced to you because you are the glucose goddess. You've built a community on teaching people hacks to balance their blood sugar. And then in deciding to grow your own little family, got into the nutrition, prenatal nutrition needed for pregnancy, for growing a healthy baby, which is so in line with blood sugar balance and all the good stuff that balances blood sugar. And you did what you do and you wrote a book about it. 9 months that count forever. And it's an amazing book about nutrient density, blood sugar balance, and literally how important it is to eat for that baby, not just for you.
Yeah, thanks, Kelly. Totally. I think one of the biggest myths that I realized was the myth is that your baby will take what he needs from you during pregnancy. And actually, like what you eat will influence what your baby gets. So depending on your diet, you kind of have a different baby that comes out because the nutrients that you provide shape his development and program his DNA. I mean, it's just fascinating.
Yeah.
It's really interesting.
Well, and I think what you've done is you've done a really good job of not fear-mongering that piece. And the same way that you looked at blood sugar, which is I think why we soul sister, we're aligning here, is that the science is empowering.
So it's that. And also I think naturally when I first announced this book, I got a lot of DMs like, oh, this makes me feel guilty. The moms would say this. And what I said over and over again is that the fact that today most moms are eating a diet that is not providing them with the ideal nutrients for their baby is not their fault, right? It's a consequence of the food landscape we live in. It's a consequence of the fact that most of the food today in supermarkets is ultra-processed and just has very poor nutritional qualities to it. And that impacts everyone, pregnant or not. We're all living in this soup of processed food. And so it really is the responsibility of society as a whole that moms today are not getting the nutrition they need, but it's not the mom's fault. And I'm hoping that this book is going to offer to parents a little bit of a step-by-step guide to navigate that landscape and get really the biggest bang for their buck in terms of what are the 4 key things you can do to improve your baby's nutrition during pregnancy.
I think we should jump right into those 4 key things.
Let's do it. Okay. Well, first one, this is not going to come as a surprise for you, is blood sugar, glucose.
Let's go.
So listen, we all know that managing our glucose levels is important for adults because big glucose roller coasters lead to inflammation, glycation, insulin release, more cravings, more hunger. I'm not going to tell you about blood sugar balance, but actually during pregnancy, it's also important because I learned one fundamental thing. And the fundamental thing is that from the 2nd trimester onward, your bloodstream and your baby's bloodstream become essentially connected. They're not fully connected, but they're in very, very close contact. And so your blood sugar fluctuations are felt by your baby as well. And so his blood sugar concentration is basically a mirror image of your own. So when you have a lot of glucose spikes, your baby in utero is also having a lot of glucose spikes. And that just blew my absolute mind. I could not believe this science. I thought there would be a big protection mechanism, like a filter, fortress, like no way my baby's being affected by this. And so listen, small fluctuations are normal, but we see over and over again that when a mother has very high glucose levels during pregnancy, her baby is also born with higher glucose levels and higher fat mass on the body because putting on fat is a way to protect ourselves from high glucose levels. But, and here's why it's so interesting, the connection doesn't stop at birth. So when a baby has been developing in the womb of a mother with really high glucose levels, he has a higher risk of type 2 diabetes as a child, a teenager, and an adult. So blood sugar balance in the womb is important to help our baby be less vulnerable to type 2 diabetes himself during lifetime. But you combine this with the fact, I don't know about you when you were pregnant, but for sure when I was pregnant, I wanted to eat more sugar than usual.
Oh, you're like naturally insulin resistant. So you're just like, yes.
Yes.
It's like this horrible, like nonstop food parade, and you have to mind over matter. You have to and I feel like that science really helped me.
And it's so interesting because in some animal studies, so scientists have discovered that during pregnancy in rats, the female rats that are pregnant get more dopamine release from sugar than when they're not pregnant. So there's something biological within us, which is like sugar is a really good idea right now because back in the day, maybe probably finding fruit was a good idea, but today it's backfiring.
Yeah.
So in the book, I talk about like how do you manage those sugar cravings while also keeping your blood sugar balanced, and all the hacks that I've talked about for years come into play. So for example, simple one, have sugar after a meal instead of on an empty stomach. What was your experience with sugar in pregnancy? Say more. I'm so interested.
You know what? You've been open about your miscarriage. I had a miscarriage before Sebastian. So I had a miscarriage first, which I think sets you up for being like, okay, I need to control the controllable. I want to learn more about this.
And Sebastian is your first baby?
He's the first. Yeah, he's my first. He's my 7-year-old. So I was actually on book tour. I got pregnant on my first book tour, my Body Love first book, and had a miscarriage. And I was like in the middle of a miscarriage, like on the doctors, like presenting my book and being like, I really hope this is not when everything happens, kind of a thing. It was just like, I think a lot of people don't know what's really going on behind the scenes. And they're like, well, wow, like she's just like launching a book and going on a book tour and she's on TV. Meanwhile, I'm like, my parents are backstage and Chris is like, are you okay? And I'm like,
were you like cramping and bleeding while you were on the show?
I was basically waiting. Like they wanted me to like, obviously, pass the baby. And I was like waiting for that. And then there was a point where they were like, well, like there's medication that can help you do that before we like take the step to needing to go to a DNC. And it will take, a certain number of hours or days. And I knew that show was coming up and I took the medication and then it didn't work for me. My body was like, just like, no, we're still pregnant. And so it was very scary going on TV being like, I don't really know what's going to happen right now.
Did you have a silent miscarriage? Like, how did you do you mind talking about this?
Oh, I don't mind talking about it at all. So I went to my eight week ultrasound and I was like, gosh, I didn't know about being pregnant. And the doctor was like, okay, well, there's a baby and we heard the heart rate. And so, Chris and I start crying and she's like, I just want to alert you to the fact that the heart rate is slightly lower. And I've always had like a lower heart rate. I'm like athletic and I've always been my whole life and it's genetic in my family too. And I'm like, oh, it's genetic and I'm athletic. And she was like, no, this is like a kind of a telltale sign. And I didn't want to believe it, obviously. I was like, trying to will it to work out, and then it was at 11 weeks that, we found out that there was no heart rate via ultrasound with our doctor again, who was just kind of like keen on like checking me every week after that. And then I was like waiting and I waited like a week and nothing was happening. And so then I took the medication and it didn't work. And it was like 5 days after that medication, 4 or 5 days after that medication. And then the day after the doctors, I had a DNC. And
so sorry, Kelly.
It's okay. Like you wrote this beautiful book and it inspired me to write my pregnancy course. But
we don't know what's really going on in people's lives, especially around fertility and pregnancy. I mean, we actually have quite a similar story because we saw a heartbeat at 2 months and then at 3 months ultrasound and heartbeat was gone. And I also my body didn't miscarry. I had a silent miscarriage. And the day before I had to have the DNC, I had to go on this massive TV show that I had booked a long time ago, like one of the biggest TV shows in France. And so I was in my mind, I was like, okay, I have the dead embryo in my uterus. It's been there for like 4 weeks. And tomorrow I'm going to the DNC and I had started bleeding and I had to go on the show and be like, 3, 2, 1, we're live. Hi, everybody, the glucose hacks, yada, yada. And I was so dissociated in my mind because, your
heart and brain.
Exactly. So I had the persona talking about the science, and then this was going on in my heart. So yeah, I mean, what a wild journey.
Yeah. Oh, I'm just so sorry. I
Thank
know
you.
what that feels like.
And we don't talk about it enough, I think,
Yeah. I think people, your community knows and my community knows, but as women, people do kind of keep everything behind the curtain, and a lot of people suffer on their own, and it's happening more and more. And I think that's why this type of a book is actually so important and poignant, because you don't need to obsess, but you also, it's really great to understand the science and be
and to be able to have an impact on what you can have an impact on.
Yeah.
Because, I was doing all the right things, quote unquote. I was taking the right methylated supplements and having enough choline, and I still had a miscarriage.
Yeah.
So you can't, there's no magic wand, but when you know some things that can have a proven benefit on your baby's vulnerability to disease later on, why not do those?
Yeah.
Especially when they're easy and they're cheap and they're accessible. We just have such a big gap between what science knows and what parents are actually told in the traditional medical system. My doctor didn't say anything except from take a folic acid supplement. That was it. And I kind of was pressing him. I was like, but what else? Just asking for a friend, are there any foods I should be eating? He's like, no. I was like, okay. Yeah. There's been a lack of communication about the science, even though it's been established for a very long time now.
Yeah. And I also think when you look at least here in the States, the way people are educated and depending on their specialty, everything's a silo. And so you have certain registered dietitians that specialize in prenatal nutrition over here. And then you have OBGYNs over here. And they're not necessarily getting that training in school around food and nutrition, which is why this information is so important.
Well, the doctors themselves, they're more looking at, okay, are there any emergencies I have to deal with right now? Let me check the vitals, let me check everything is going well. But in terms of nutrition, it's a whole other ballgame.
Yeah.
So blood sugar.
Yeah. So yes, remind the audience of your hacks for blood sugar.
So there are 10 in my first book, Glucose Revolution, but the key ones are: 1, have a savory breakfast built around protein. Surprise, surprise.
No surprise.
Do you agree, Kelly?
I do, but I also have a caveat asterisk around the Fab 4 smoothie because that is a blood sugar balancing smoothie and not just blended fruit and coconut water and goji berries and maple syrup in a jar.
Completely.
It's a absolute protein.
Yes.
And it limits frozen fruit, and people used to give me a really hard time about that. You're scaring everyone about fruit and demonizing fruit, and I'm like, I eat fruit all the time. I'm just not going to blend 3 cups of mango in a blender and tell you that that's great for your blood sugar.
Absolutely. And when I say savory breakfast built around protein, I also say that you can totally have whole fruit. It's fine. That they can totally be part of a savory breakfast, but they have to be there just for taste. They can't be the centerpiece of the breakfast. Exactly.
Mostly protein.
Exactly.
Yes.
Mostly protein, healthy fats. So things that are very specific and useful for pregnancy. So savory breakfast with protein also helps with nausea. I don't know how your nausea experience was.
Totally fine with Sebastian. I had no nausea with Sebastian at all. I felt like I could drink green smoothies. I could eat salads. I was all over the map. I could literally live my entire life the same way I did. And then Toshin was a totally different story. And I was like, something smells funny. Get it out of here. And everything. Yeah, I was the breakfast taco girl. Yeah. I was a siete tortilla, a couple of eggs, bland, Greek yogurt. It couldn't taste very strong. I could barely do my smoothies.
That's pretty good that you could have eggs. I could not eat anything that wasn't a pastry for 4 months.
And
impossible. Impossible. I just had croissant and pain au chocolat for 4 months.
Well, I did go to France 2 years ago, and I totally understand that.
But it was the
My
nausea,
husband's like,
Kelly.
how many croissants today? And I'm like, it was after the eggs.
So that's another good hack during pregnancy. Obviously, you're going to crave sugar. You're going to want to eat carbs. It's totally fine. But make sure you're having them after something else. You don't want them on an empty stomach so that the glucose spike is smaller.
Yeah.
So that's a key thing. Other thing, if you can, is moving a little bit after eating. So going for a nice walk after a lunch, after your breakfast, even just tidying your apartment, doing the dishes, any sort of light activity is going to help lower the spike of the meal. And I think it's really key to remember during pregnancy, you don't actually need to eat more sugar. Okay, so your baby doesn't need sugar. Your baby needs a little bit of extra glucose in the 3rd trimester, about 70 grams of glucose per day for energy. That's the amount of glucose in a cup and a half of rice.
Yeah.
So if by the 3rd trimester, you're upping your carbs by a cup and a half of rice, that's sufficient. But your baby does not need 12 extra cookies. So the myth of you should eat for 2, or the myth that, there's a Sex and the City episode where a woman is pregnant and she's like, oh, I have a bunch of pancakes because I'm pregnant. Your baby doesn't need that sugar. But we have all these beliefs around pregnancy. This is not the time to increase how much sugar you eat because it's not just impacting you. It's also very subtly programming your baby's body. Okay, so that's glucose.
I also am just curious, just a little side turn here. I feel like I was getting that extra cup and a half of rice naturally without having to be like, oh, it's the 3rd trimester. I'm going to add these carbohydrates to my plate because I was
more hungry.
You were just, by the end of your pregnancy, you're just like slightly eating a little bit more until you're at that point where you feel, you feel like, is there actually room for my stomach?
My new amino acid supplements come in flavorless and lemon water, and they're flying off the shelves, and here's why. I have meticulously sourced these vegan fermented essential amino acids from Japan. I am so proud of this being made the Be Well way, with maximum quality and minimum ingredients. My flavorless is simply those vegan fermented essential amino acids from Japan. Our lemon water contains minimal ingredients of only organic lemon powder, organic citric acid, and organic monk fruit. No natural flavors, no artificial flavors, no artificial sweeteners, no emulsifiers, no additives. This is simply that nutrition targeted for your goals. If you want to give my Be Well protein or aminos a try, or restock it if you're already loving it, take advantage of my gift for podcast listeners. Code PODCAST10 is going to get you $10 off just for being a listener. Write it down and shop with me after you listen. You guys know I care a lot about the little things that shape how we feel every single day, and sleep is foundational. Lately, I have been loving Cozy Earth, especially their comforters and their essential socks. Their comforters are incredibly soft, breathable, and temperature regulating, so you feel cozy without overheating. It's that cloud-like comfort that helps your body actually settle at night. And when you sleep better, everything feels easier the next day. And I have to mention their essential socks. They're soft, supportive, and thoughtfully cushioned, whether you're at home, on a walk, moving through a busy day. It's one of those small upgrades that makes a big difference. What I love about Cozy Earth is the intention behind every detail. These are everyday essentials designed to elevate how you feel from the first step in the morning to unwinding at night. They also offer a 100-night sleep trial and a 10-year warranty, so you can truly feel the difference for yourself. Head to CozyEarth.com and use my code BEWELL for up to 20% off. And if you see a post-purchase survey, be sure to mention you heard about Cozy Earth right here on the Be Well by Kelly show. Experience the craft behind the comfort and make every day feel a little more intentional.
By the end, if your stomach is really large and your belly is really large and your stomach gets really small, it's probably easier to eat like little snacks throughout the day. And in that case, I would use the clothing on carbs hack, meaning never eat your carbs naked. So if you're going to have a cookie or rice, never have them on their own. Always add protein, fat, or fiber to lower the spike. But yes, I agree. And naturally, you were just a bit more hungry. And so you need a little bit more glucose. But actually, what you need more of that people don't talk about enough is protein. So protein needs really go up, because your baby, by the time he's born, is actually 50% protein if you exclude water. Mm-hmm. Protein doesn't just build muscles. It builds your immune system, it builds your baby's skin, your baby's organs, everything. So protein is super, super key. And you have to eat more of it so that your baby gets more of it. Mm-hmm. And in animal studies, they show that when a mother is protein deprived, meaning she's not eating enough protein during pregnancy, two things happen. One, the mother herself loses muscle mass to feed the baby, because the muscle is turning to protein, going to the baby. And then this other incredible study was done on animals, showed that when a mom is protein restricted during pregnancy, her baby also gets the message to keep his muscles small. And this setting stays with him into adulthood. So if you're eating very low protein, and we don't know if this is the case for humans, but we do know this in animals, so it could be the case in humans. if you eat very low protein during pregnancy, your baby could be getting the message to just keep his muscles small because he's going to be born into a world with low protein. And that's another thing I understood from the science is that with your diet during pregnancy, you're sending like a little postcard to your baby about what the world is going to be like that he's going to be born into. So if you're the baby in the womb, you're trying to adapt, trying to like set up your metabolism, your organs, you're like, okay, what is the world going to be like? And the low protein diet signals, well, you're not going to have many amino acids. So focus on the essential organs, but don't try to build a bunch of muscle mass because you're not going to have the resources.
Right. I mean, it makes perfect sense because if it's optimizing for survival, then what is the world going to be like when he gets here to survive? Exactly.
And similarly, in the case of sugar, so we know that in animal studies, when a baby is developing in the womb of a mom that's eating a very high sugar diet, the mom does not have gestational diabetes, just the mother is eating a very high sugar diet. The baby's DNA is programmed to store more fat, meaning that baby has a setup from the womb that says, okay, you're going to be dealing with a lot of sugar in your bloodstream, so become really good at turning it into fat. And these are the small sort of settings that can be happening during pregnancy, which is a window of outsized importance in terms of setting up the blueprint, calibrating your body. And there's an amazing study, Kelly, I don't know if you've seen this. It's a study that was done because in the UK, between 1930 and 1943, there was a sugar ration. Have you seen this?
No, I haven't seen this.
Okay, so during these 13 years, the government in the UK told everybody you only have access to 40 grams of added sugar per day. That's 10 sugar cubes. And they were doing this because of the war. They had to prioritize resources. And so for 13 years, everybody in the UK was given 10 sugar cubes a day, and that was it. Before the rationing and right after, they were at about 20 sugar cubes per day. So this gave us 13 years where all pregnant moms were only, quote unquote, eating 40 grams of sugar per day. And so in the early 2000s, scientists were like, I wonder if these babies turned out differently than their peers who were having more sugar when they were in utero. And so they called up 60,000 people who were born during the ration or just after, and they compared their health. Well, the babies who were on the low sugar maternal diet had a 15% lower likelihood of having developed type 2 diabetes in their lifetime.
Fascinating.
The only difference was how much sugar the mom was eating during pregnancy. So these are small moments that could have a big impact. And we're not saying like, if you eat a lot of sugar, your baby will for sure get diabetes, or if you don't eat any sugar, he will for sure not get it. But it seems like it's programming vulnerability and resilience to disease.
Yeah. Well, it's that pre-programming too. And it's amazing to think like that doesn't feel super statistically different if someone were just to be like, 10 sugar cubes, here's 20 sugar cubes. Like, what's the big deal? But it's a chemical messenger into your body of like what's available. It's also creating this cascade of hormones that come after it that have their own impacts outside of just like putting sugar away. It's like preventing lipolysis. There's like so much there for a baby and for a mom. Wow. So, okay. So the first thing people are focusing on is blood sugar balance.
Blood sugar balance. And I think a good goal is to look at the WHO recommendation of 25 grams of added sugar per day or less, right?
Yeah.
So that's even less than during the sugar ration.
Yeah.
So the impact could be even better on the kids. So 25 grams of sugar, that's the amount of sugar in a big glass of orange juice, in 2 cookies, in half a chocolate bar. It adds up really, really quickly.
Yeah.
But this is a really important time during our life where we should try to be mindful of this objective because that's going to confer benefits to the baby. So that's the first part, blood sugar, sugar intake. Second part we mentioned is protein.
Yeah.
So the latest studies are showing that second and third trimester, the goal is about 1.6 grams per kilo of body weight per day. So roughly about 100 grams of protein per day or more. And this also helps with nausea, the protein. So that's really, really key, really important because again, the amount of protein you're eating is directly building your baby. This is not about your muscle mass. This is about your baby's organs.
Yeah.
So
let's build a heart and a pancreas here, friends.
Yeah, let's do that. Don't worry, it's not about building. You're not going to become a bodybuilder.
Yeah.
Well, you're actually doing real bodybuilding when you're pregnant, which I thought was kind of cute. So 100 grams of protein, breakfast, lunch, and dinner and snacks. My favorite snack that I was having during pregnancy, I would have a big cup of skyr yogurt, which is high in protein. I would add a very high quality whey isolate. And then that would be about 80 grams of protein, just right there. Easy. With some nuts, some berries. I would have that every day. Super, super simple. I have the recipe in my book. It's so good.
That sounds delicious.
It's so good. So good.
It's like,
and
it tastes like dessert.
Have you ever put sea salt on a yogurt
Are you
snack?
putting vanilla whey or chocolate whey?
No, unflavored.
Unflavored
whey. Yeah, This is my whey, Protein Prodigy. It's unflavored.
Okay.
But then a little bit of sea salt on top and it just kind of ties it all together. It's so good. And some almond butter.
Oh,
okay, wait. So skyr, whey, almond butter, berries, and maybe passion fruit if you have, and a little bit of sea salt.
That sounds delicious.
I have to make one for you.
I mean, yes, please. That's
so good.
It sounds delicious. And I feel like almost like decadent, like a dessert. So was that a snack? Was that breakfast? That
was usually my afternoon snack.
Okay.
Yeah, or breakfast when I couldn't eat more eggs, because we got to talk about eggs.
Choline, baby.
Choline. So that's the third important pillar during pregnancy. Choline builds your baby's brain, and it builds the parts of the brain that are in charge of memory, learning, and attention. I mean, you know this. You know choline very, very well. But it's a good thing to remind people of. So choline is key. And today, 90% of pregnant moms are not getting enough choline in their diet because we don't eat any organ meats anymore. We eat like muscle meat, which is very low in choline. And plant foods contain barely any choline. So really the best sources are going to be egg yolks, animal liver, if you're into that. So that's an option. And then, a little bit in chicken, fish, or meat. But eggs are like the superfood of choline. You need 450 milligrams of choline per day during pregnancy. That's 4 eggs and you're done. So I just had 4 eggs every day.
Easy.
So good. So easy. You can also supplement with choline, which is helpful. And there's a cool study done at Cornell University where they supplemented moms with different levels of choline during pregnancy. And then they measured the kids' basically cognition during their first year of life. And the scientists used this test that sounds a little bit weird, but essentially they asked the moms to bring their babies in and to set the babies on their lap. And then they put a computer screen in front of the baby. And they flashed these images on the screen. And they were measuring how quickly the baby was responding to the new image. So they were measuring the baby's reaction time. And the reason they do this, Kelly, is because this test is correlated to adult IQ. So the faster you react to the images as a baby, well, the higher your adult IQ. That's the association. And they found that the moms with the most choline intake during pregnancy had kids who had a 10% faster reaction time. So potentially a higher adult IQ. But all this to say that choline is super key, and your baby does not always get all the choline that he needs.
Yeah.
Your baby gets an amount of choline proportional to how much you're eating. So that's really, really important. But 4 eggs a day and you're golden. If you don't eat eggs, if you're 100% plant-based, you would need to eat 2 pounds of soybeans per day to get enough choline. And that is the highest choline plant. So if you're plant-based, you just must supplement with choline.
Yeah. It's tough with choline and omega-3s in that regard. And we can jump into plant-based in a minute. I feel like if someone is here in the States, I love an ancestral blend. I never was I tried back in I want to say it was 2012, 2013. I remember buying beef liver at our Whole Foods, and I lived in an apartment in Brentwood, was in my backyard, basically. That's how I found this apartment. I pulled into the grocery store and it was apartment for rent. And I knocked on the door and I ended up living there. So it made it very easy for me to go to the grocery store. But I remember trying to cook with it. I remember cutting it into cubes, freezing it in my freezer, and taking it like a pill, which is okay, that's better than eating it when it got that iron flavor. But there's Ancestral Blend here by Force of Nature, and it's a pound of ground beef, and it's pasture raised, regenerative, and they put about 10% of liver and heart. So you're getting CoQ10 and you're getting all the choline. And I could get away with that if I was using a strong taco seasoning or a marinara and making it like a pasta.
Amazing.
So for people here, that'd be my way to sneak that in.
Do you give that to your kids too?
Yeah. So my kids eat that now, and my husband will always.
They have no clue.
They don't know. No. And I'll talk to them about it when they're bigger and they're not going to fight me on it. But Chris will ask me. He'll be like, does it have the stuff in it? And I'll be like, and he's squirmish. He can't do it. He's like,
he can't do
I'm not
it?
going to do it. Well, he's come so far from even just like for us being together. Like there were a lot of things he didn't eat, but he also doesn't trust me because one time I got New Zealand lamb chops and I told him they were mini T-bones because they look like mini T-bones, the little like New Zealand ones. Like, and he's like, these are great. He was like sucking them off the bone, and I was like cracking up, and he's like, what? Because he's weird about all the gamey meat. I'm like, those are New Zealand lamb chops. And he was like, you're a liar. I can't trust you. So now he has to check in. But yeah, I mean, that's really easy. But I can't do it if I'm doing burgers. They'll know. They'll know. But yeah, talking to my kids about food and what's in it all the time, just so they're informed. Like, I think it's really important to like get them excited about what they're eating. And the benefits of it and like why it's so great for them. Because then they're empowered and they're like, they regurgitate it back to me. Like, you know, I'm eating the avocado because it has vitamin E and fiber in it. Yummy. Like that feels good. I'm not trying to like, on the other side of the coin, I'm not trying to label foods in a bad way and be like, that's horrible for you. Or like, you can't have that. I definitely have boundaries in that regard, but I let them, go to birthday parties and have the birthday cake. And I'm not restrictive in that way.
But you don't have birthday cake at home.
Yeah, we're not. We have desserts on the weekends. And like I have chocolate. I have like the Simple Mills little like peanut butter cookies. I have a ice cream maker that attaches to my KitchenAid. I've like made homemade ice cream with extra egg yolks now that they don't have dairy allergies. So yeah, it's been a journey. But all those things that I learned about for pregnancy, I just think about now for them as growing little kids.
And I think that's an important thing. Like, even if you've already had kids, these principles will still apply to a developing child's brain. The choline is still important, the omega-3s, the protein, and the blood sugar balance. It's just like pregnancy is a very sensitive moment with outsized impact, but truly these principles apply to children of any age.
Yeah.
It's very important.
Well, so let's go into omega-3s and then we can circle back around to a plant-based diet.
Okay, so omega-3s are a type of fat that come from algae in the ocean, and then fish eat the algae, and so we eat the fish, and that's how we get this important fat. And omega-3s are really important because by the time your baby is born, most of his neurons, which are the brain cells that process information, will be formed. So in your brain right now, Kelly, you have the neurons that you had when you were born. Same for me. And so during pregnancy, we're forming the basic architecture of our baby's brain. And omega-3s, their job is that they have many jobs. One of their jobs is that they help neurons connect their long, long arms together. So they essentially guide the arms of the neurons across your baby's brain to connect and form these very important highways of information. And so today, 70% of moms don't have a diet that contains enough omega-3s. Again, not their fault because we don't eat much fish anymore. Processed foods have replaced all of this stuff. But fish is very important during pregnancy. So ideally, the guidelines say you want to have fish twice a week. I was trying to do 3 times a week, and I was also supplementing. Now, this doesn't have to be expensive fish, right? You can buy like cans of anchovies, and for $6, you have all the omega-3s you need for the week. And same for eggs, right? If you're going to have 28 eggs a week, that's less than $10 of eggs.
Yeah.
So it's not expensive stuff. We just have to know about it because we are being misled with a lot of marketing messages. So omega-3s are key for the baby's brain. In the studies, when they supplement moms with about 1.5 grams of omega-3s per day during pregnancy, they see a 4% increase in IQ in the kids at 4 years old. So omega-3s during pregnancy build your child's brain. And then one last thing I will say about this is that since the 1980s, the rates of preterm birth have increased by 30%. Meaning we have today 1 in 10 children who are born too early. And this can have an impact on their development. We don't want a kid to be born too early. And what's interesting is that pregnancy is a state that ends obviously in birth, and birth is an inflammatory process. So contractions, cervical dilation, all this stuff is a cascade of inflammation in your body. And omega-3s reduce inflammation. So when you don't have enough omega-3s, you have a higher inflammation baseline in your body, which scientists believe may be one of the reasons we're seeing more labors too early, because women have too much inflammation in their body, and the cascade of inflammation that triggers contraction is happening too soon. And this is why in the studies, this is unequivocal across all women, supplementing with omega-3s or eating enough fish reduces the rates of preterm birth. So simple thing you can do, not only to form a baby's brain, but also to make sure your pregnancy goes to term, or at least increase your odds of the pregnancy going to term.
What do you say to the women who have been afraid of heavy metals and maybe heard online or whatever that they're going to have mercury poisoning and they're worried about that?
The studies are super clear. The benefits of fish outweigh the potential risk of the heavy metal toxicity.
Yeah. I mean, when I dove into that research, I was just like, literally DHA is the little taxi that takes choline to the brain. You need them both up there.
Yeah.
How do we get it there? We need them both. But it, it's like fear mongering online. People can I have clients today that are like, no, I get my omega-3s from my like pasture raised meat and like my pasture raised eggs. And I'm like, I get it, but like
not enough.
You're just getting scared of everything online. And the reality is like, we want to bring all of this back. Like you want to bring all the seafood back and yes, of course, try to source good sources, but also like just knowing what's in the fish and how important it is for your baby's growing brain is like.
I totally agree. And once you go to, for example, if you buy formula for your baby, also look for formula that contains choline and DHA because they're not mandatory. In Europe, we have DHA that's mandatory. Choline is still not mandatory, but there are many different types of formula and you want to make sure they also have these very key nutrients.
You know what's interesting? I remember reading a study around choline and that if you're still breastfeeding almost like 2 years later, that most of the nutrient levels when you're breastfeeding and the baby is getting larger decrease over time based on how long you breastfeed. But choline was one that stayed stagnant and high throughout the lifetime of breastfeeding for however long you breastfeed your child. And I really need to wean Julian. I think I've said that on like the last 3 podcasts, but he's just been super easy to nurse and he like eats a lot of great foods. Occasionally will like still nurse like once a day. And I always think about that. Like, I'm like, it's kind of amazing that I have the ability to still give him this nutrient at such a high dose later in breastfeeding,
What I do is my son has half an egg yolk every day.
Beautiful.
So I'm like, at least you're getting your choline in, like non-negotiable.
Are you giving it to him raw?
No. Cooked.
Yeah, okay.
No, not raw. No, it's cooked with his breakfast.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
You've probably heard me talk about Element for years, and honestly, it's because it's been such a consistent part of my routine through so many seasons of life. Pregnancies, long workout days, travel, road trips, and everything in between. Hydration is foundational for energy, mental clarity, mood, all of it. And I notice a real difference when I stay on top of my electrolytes. What I love about Element is that it gives you meaningful electrolytes without the sugar, dyes, or unnecessary additives you see in a lot of sports drinks. It's simple, effective, and it works. Lately, I've been reaching for their new 12-ounce sparkling cans as my mid-morning drink. They're crisp, refreshing, and honestly, they feel like an upgrade from plain water during those in-between moments. Whether I'm heading to the office, running errands, or heading to school drop-off, they come in 4 delicious flavors: pineapple salt, lemonade salt, black cherry salt, and orange salt. And each can delivers 500 milligrams of sodium, 100 milligrams of potassium, and 30 milligrams of magnesium. The best part? You can try Element risk-free. If you don't love it, they'll refund you, no questions asked. Plus, when you order through my link, you're going to get a free sample pack with 8 flavors, including citrus salt, raspberry salt, watermelon salt, and orange salt with any purchase. Just go to drinkelement.com/Kelly. A perfect way to find your favorites and share with friends. So make 2026 the year you dial in your hydration and feel your best. Your body will thank you.
So let's, so those are the 4, reviewing them again.
Yes.
Blood sugar balance,
Protein
intake,
choline,
and
omega-3s.
When it comes to breakfast for pregnancy, what are the best ways to get, or breakfast, lunch, and dinner, other than your beautiful yogurt bowl, what are the best ways to get kind of all of those into your diet? Or what would day in the life of you look like when you were pregnant?
Well, you want to have savory breakfast built around protein, and you need choline from eggs. So I would usually have my eggs in the morning.
Yeah.
So I have lots of recipes in the book to try to make eggs less boring, because you got to eat like over 1,000 eggs if you want to get enough choline during your whole pregnancy.
Yeah.
So lots of egg recipes. I have these beautiful Parmesan fried eggs, which I used to make a lot. I have my traditional feta and tomato omelet, which I love. And then some days I was like, I just can't do the eggs anymore. So I would just eat the yolks, because the choline is in the yolks.
Yeah.
So morning, something built around 4 eggs. Then lunch, I usually do like a big spinach salad with, for example, some salmon to get some omega-3s. I'd have probably like a side of some carbs, like a sweet potato, some rice, some nice dressing. I love having fun with dressings.
Yeah.
So I love making like an avocado and vinegar dressing, just something a bit rich and tangy. Then afternoons, I love fruit and chocolate. So I would always try to place like some chocolate something or some fruit something during the day, but usually after lunch to reduce the spike. And it varied, again, for the first 4 months. Like I wasn't eating anything of nutritional value whatsoever. I tried, but I just couldn't. It just made me throw up. It was awful. And then dinner, it's kind of similar. And during pregnancy, my diet was pretty similar every day. So I would usually have meat or chicken, honestly, with another veggie. And then I would take my supplements at night. So I would take the omega-3s, and then I was also taking a prenatal that had extra choline in it, just for good measure.
Yeah.
But with that, it was really easy, because I was doing 30 grams of protein in the morning, 30 grams for lunch. I was doing my afternoon skyr yogurt with the whey, and then protein at dinner. So enough protein, enough choline and 4 eggs, blood sugar balance, because I cut out as much sugar as I could, and then omega-3s with fish 3 times a week and some supplements. And I knew that with those, 4 pillars, I was giving my baby a measurable, improvement in what he was getting in the womb. And it wasn't too complicated. And that's why I organized this book around these 4 hacks, is because I did not have the time during pregnancy to do something complicated. I wanted like 4 things a day. Basta, we don't talk about it anymore.
Yeah.
So literally this book is just everything that I did based on the science. What were going to be the biggest bang for my buck in terms of habits for my baby's health.
Why did you take your supplements at night?
Because it was easier to remember.
Okay.
But no real reason.
Okay.
Why?
Oh, so I think a lot of people will take them at night if they make them nauseous in the morning or during the day.
Oh, interesting.
So I was like,
well, the first 4 months I could not take supplements either. They would make me throw up too much.
And I want to address those first 4 months a little bit so people understand like what it's like to really be pregnant. And for some pregnancies, like with Sebastian, for me, I had like 0 side effects, and life is normal. But for the following 2, Tasha and Julian's pregnancies, there were definitely some like symptoms that I was having that really impeded the way I wanted to be eating. But sometimes people take supplements at night because of nausea, and sometimes people can't take supplements at night if the B vitamins, the methylated B vitamins, make them energized. So you're the lucky one.
Yeah, no, I was fine with that.
No sleep problems for you.
I had no sleep problems. No, that was good. I slept all the way through until I gave birth, and then I stopped sleeping. And then it was over.
Welcome to the club, mama.
And then it was all over. Yeah.
All right. So what do you say to moms who are having major nausea? They're not eating the way that they want to be eating. They're worried about the nutrient levels their baby may or may not be getting. Like, how are we focusing on trimester 1?
I think do what you can and have grace for yourself. If you remember just one hack, it's close on carbs.
Yeah.
So even though I was eating mostly pastries, I tried to have 10 almonds with it, or, 1 egg, or a little pot of Greek yogurt. If you can, put clothing on your carbs by adding protein, fat, or fiber to them. You're going to help your body manage the glucose better. But to be honest, we don't have a solution for this nausea thing, which is kind of wild. Yeah. When it's very extreme, there's medication you can take, but you just have to go through it, unfortunately. And if it helps alleviate the guilt, just picture me eating like 10 pain au chocolat every single day for 4 months. Knowing all this science, I was like, well, I do what I can. It's okay. I'll pick it up on month 4, which is what I did.
Yeah. Yeah, I think for me, that's always been the goal. Like when I've had clients who were pregnant and worried, or like trying to focus on nutrient levels, was always, if they had the foresight and were focused on getting pregnant, is working on that trimester 0 and knowing that like whatever nutrient stores you can bring into your body prior, if you are planning. Some people aren't planning, or they have a miscarriage and go right into trying to get pregnant again, and that can be difficult. But if you have a handle on trimester 0, or have the time and the foresight to be able to focus on it, awesome.
Yes.
Use your book, do it before the 9 months or you're like really in it. But also like that 4 months that you're talking about, I always just had clients put a little calendar reminder because they would start to feel this guilt. And I'm like, write a journal entry to yourself. Like write yourself an email that you schedule to come into your inbox on your 4 months and say like, you dealt with a lot. Like have some compassion and then check in with yourself. Because a lot of times it's like if those habits would have stayed with you, those 4 months would have become 9. That's a totally different picture for your baby as opposed to 4 months of, okay, I'm having really bad symptoms. I'm having nausea. Like I really only can have a carbohydrate. Everything is disgusting. Then you went, okay, now I'm having eggs. I'm having yogurt. I'm having salmon on a spinach salad, which you probably couldn't even have thought about eating in the first trimester.
And something else to keep in mind. I mean, yes, the first trimester is important, right? So it's better if you can eat better. But during the first trimester, the placenta is not in place, so your baby's bloodstream and your bloodstream are not yet connected. Your baby is being fed by this milk that your uterus makes, right? So if that brings a little bit of lightness, just know that this is not yet the moment where you're perfectly in symbiosis. You have a little bit of time before that gets established.
It's beautiful. Mm-hmm. So how have you taken the way that you ate in pregnancy into feeding your little baby boy?
Well, I mean, during breastfeeding, I was still doing everything because protein needs go up even more during breastfeeding, which I was really surprised to learn. Mm-hmm. I was same for choline. You're up to 550 milligrams per day. So I got my husband on food duty. I was like, I need 5 eggs a day and this much protein, and just figure it out. So I had these staples that I was eating to try to keep those nutrition objectives up. And then for feeding him, I mean, so right now he's 8 months, so he's eating like twice a day. I'm doing, so half an egg yolk in the morning with some veggies, with some butter, olive oil. And then his second meal that I'm giving him solids for is also like a small protein source and more veggies. I'm not giving him any like fruit purees. He's not having any cookies or whatever. He's just eating healthy fats, choline, protein, and veggies. And I'll give him like a few raspberries to play with also. Mm-hmm. But all his food is savory.
Yeah,
I'm not doing like, there's this habit in France to say one meal should be savory, one meal should be sweet. I'm like, I'm not giving him any applesauce. Like, what are you talking about? He doesn't need the applesauce.
He's going to love applesauce whenever you introduce it.
Yeah.
I think that's what we need to realize. Like everyone wants to see their baby smile the first time they eat. So they're like, oh, I'm going to give them this fruit puree. And you're like, of course they're going to like, you've seen the baby's like first taste of something sweet on video. You're clearly that's not going to be an issue. Totally.
He mostly has, so in the morning, mostly egg yolks, spinach, and olive oil. That's his favorite breakfast.
Yeah. Coming to your house.
So good. And then evening, I'll do like chicken or turkey with like a sweet potato or a carrot or a cauliflower with butter.
Yeah.
Good life.
Yeah, really good life.
I'm like, yum.
And he's teething right now.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I was told by a friend. Tips. Yeah. Uh-huh. Like you basically celery, like rinse it and put it in water and like a glass Pyrex in your fridge, and it'll be ice cold. And then you give it to them and they gnaw on it and they just like drool everywhere. Nice. Yeah.
That's great. I heard also green onions are helpful, and he actually seemed to like them.
There you go.
Yeah, there you go. I mean, who knows?
So you've increased your choline intake and your protein intake. What's your protein goal during breastfeeding?
So I stopped breastfeeding at 7 months. Okay. So now I'm free now.
Okay.
And I'm back to, I mean, honestly, my protein goal has always been pretty high. So I'm at like 1.5 grams per kilo per day.
Yeah.
And I'm keeping my choline levels up because I know that even though I was eating enough eggs, choline reserves in my own body was still being pulled from.
Yeah.
So basically, this is kind of how I eat now. I'm just a bit more chill with the sugar.
Yeah.
So I'm having a few more cookies. I love sugar.
Yeah. Who doesn't?
Yeah, who doesn't? But it's really taught me some new, nice tools that I feel like are benefiting my body. And especially with the sleep deprivation, like I want to make sure my brain is getting everything that it needs. Mm-hmm. So choline, omega-3s, I'm never going to change those again.
Yeah.
I'm all good. I'm continuing on the 2 grams of omega-3s per day, plus fish 3 times a week, lots of eggs. Lots of protein, but now I can have more sugar, so I'm happy.
Have you brought creatine into your life for the sleep deprivation yet?
I have, yes. So on bad days, I'll do 10 grams.
Yeah.
Which I really like.
Yeah. I think it makes a massive impact.
Do you have it every day?
I have 5 to 10 grams every single day.
How do you have it?
I just put it in my coffee. And I know that there's like some noise about that, maybe the acid degrading the creatine, but it's not enough for me, or like statistically significant in my opinion, to not put it in there when that is such a like ingrained habit for me. Like I have like a cup of, like black coffee. I put 5 grams in it. Sometimes I'll do like a splash of almond milk occasionally if there's some eczema stuff in my family. So it's depending, I like really do like just like a little bit of cream. But I can't always do that. So it's a total habit for me and I love it. If I have like really bad sleep deprivation, then I may even push 15 or 20 grams, but I'll spread it out because I do notice if I do 20 grams all at once, I don't have GI side effects, but I do feel like puffy. I'm like, oh, my socks are leaving lines all over my calves. That's weird.
Yes, that's such a good sign to know if you're retaining too much water.
So what was surprising for you when researching this book? Did anything stand out where you were like, what?
Many, many, many studies stood out. I mean, all of the studies I just mentioned, they're more in the book about how small tweaks during pregnancy have effects that we can measure with like these very validated scientific instruments. And so what got me thinking is that, okay, we can measure IQ, we can measure reaction time, we can measure all these things. What about the stuff we can't measure?
Yeah.
Will my baby feel differently in his brain? Will he feel a bit more calm? Will it feel nicer to be in his brain because of the extra choline and omega-3s? I don't know. But if I look back at my mother's pregnancy diet, which was unfortunately a lot of sugar because she didn't know, today, I've had many mental health issues throughout my life. And so I just kind of wonder, maybe if she had eaten more eggs, if she had known, or if her diet was better, maybe I would feel better in my own brain. So that's something I was thinking about. But in terms of my favorite study.
Well, I want to kind of double click on that a little bit, just because with your history, with the, I'm pretty sure, like my mom, I knew she ate a bunch of oranges every single day when she was pregnant with me. When she was like, my craving was oranges. I had them all the time. But I wouldn't say, looking back, and my mom knows this, I'm like, you have never really had like the best diet. She just naturally has been like a smaller frame. She never really worried about it. She loved potato chips, just a California beach babe, basically eating her potato chips and putting baby oil all over her body, basically, and oranges when she was pregnant. But I'm curious, like in changing your diet for, learning the glucose, creating the glucose hacks, learning about blood sugar, how do you feel like it's impacted your mental health over the last few years?
Oh, it's been the main thing that's helped me. So my mental health was in shambles for almost a decade after I broke my back when I was 19, until I found glucose. I mean, seriously, I put on, completely by a stroke of luck, randomly, a glucose monitor as part of this pilot experiment that they were doing at my company. And that's when, for the first time in my life, I received a clue as to how my lifestyle was impacting my mental health. So I saw on the screen on my blood sugar app that a big glucose spike was coinciding with an episode of this mental health condition called depersonalization, which I have. And I connected for the first time, oh my God, maybe glucose spike from the donut I just ate equals inflammation in my brain equals more symptoms. And all of a sudden, the sky opened up and I felt like, oh, well, maybe if I balance my blood sugar levels, I'm going to feel better. And I did. And that was, for me, the first step in my healing. I had to have steady glucose levels to get a little bit of my brain back. And then I was able to build on that. So glucose was completely essential to my healing. It changed everything for my mental health. And that's also something I thought about. Well, maybe, my mom having little choline in her diet slightly tweaked my brain towards more vulnerability, but I was able to take control over it. So whatever happened in your mother's womb, you still have agency over improving your health.
I feel like it's easy to blame our parents. And I don't want my kids to blame me, because I'm sure there are things that we're not doing right that they will learn, because we're constantly learning new things. I remember, a doctor saying, on my first day of residency, they told me 50% of what I'm learning here will be proven false and incorrect by the time I'm practicing, which is...
Was that true?
I mean, it was just what it was what a physician that I worked with when he was a resident, what his attending basically like told him. I'm sure it was an exaggeration, like not 50% of what you're learning is going to be invalidated or incorrect. But I think we need to be open to the fact that things are changing and, science is constantly evolving, but going back to the basics and knowing like, okay, this is what my grandmother ate. She ate fish, she ate eggs, she ate vegetables, she ate protein. Like nothing here is weird or processed or not looking like food.
Yes.
And I think if we can focus on those things, regroup at 4 months, check in with ourselves and really just try to use, I love how you always keep it so simple. Like blood sugar balance, protein, choline, and omega-3s.
And the cool thing about those pillars is that if you do them, many other things fall into place that we haven't even spoken about, like iron, like B12, like iodine. And that, there's more details in the book, but it can get really complicated during pregnancy if you start looking at all the information out there to figure out what to do. So with these 4 pillars, you're getting a lot of benefits that you don't even know about. So that's important also.
Well, speaking just about iron, it reminded me about plant-based, and we haven't gone there and I want to go there. So what did you uncover when writing this book about nutrients of concern in a plant-based diet?
I realized it is impossible to get everything your baby needs if you don't eat any animal foods.
Yeah.
Unless you heavily supplement and have a lot of money to spend on supplements and can really research and make sure you're getting the right stuff. It kind of showed me that animal foods are one of the best things you can eat when you're pregnant. That's the thing. And of course, if you don't eat meat, I'm not saying you have to eat meat, but eggs, some high quality dairy is going to be very helpful. Fish is going to be really important. So it just showed me once again that if you're plant-based, you need to be highly educated and have a lot of money to make it work. And it doesn't feel like it's the most optimal diet for pregnancy.
Yeah. I think there is just something about it being from a whole food, something that our bodies have digested for years and years and years, that it is, when you look and compare, like whether it's like an ounce of steak to a cup of broccoli, nutrient by nutrient, and like what's bioavailable, what's absorbed, it's pretty mind-blowing. Like between anti-nutrients and like things like phytic acid that prevent absorption and how they impede critical nutrients for brain health and body health, it was crazy. And we were talking before the podcast, like I want to be inclusive to every lifestyle and diet, and totally understanding when a client comes to me and says like, I'm vegan or I'm vegetarian and this is how I want to eat. And I used to kind of bend over backwards to find ways to make the Fab Four work for them and for them to like really feel that satiation I wanted them to feel from their food and be able to like have a meal and not have to worry about food for 3 to 4 hours. And so I created like a whole plant-based plan in my second book, and then, dove into like the literature on pregnancy. And I was like, this is
rough.
This is rough.
Yeah.
Like I really need to start pushing back. And I never used to push back. I always used to try to find ways for it to work and to meet them where they were and find the little lifestyle hacks that could, really push them towards more protein or make them feel calm and satisfied. But the reality was, it's like the minute you move someone to a, animal and plant-based diet where you have like protein, fat, fiber, and greens on your plate, and someone gets up from a meal and feels calm and relaxed and like they can focus and they don't need to eat for 4 hours, like that is food freedom. Like that's your body digesting and assimilating nutrients and not screaming at you to eat again.
Yeah.
Like that is like mental health and peace of mind that like once I got into the pregnancy data was like, I just need to push back whether you're pregnant or not and advocate for your health because I know how much better you can feel.
100%.
Oh, Jessie, this book.
Thank you.
9 months that count forever. I'm so glad you wrote it.
Thank you so much.
I wonder, did you have to push for it? Because sometimes when we niche down into a specific area, I mean, I'm sure your publisher trusted you, but it can be like, oh, I want to do pregnancy. It's a specific period of time. But I feel like the moms are...
I was told, it it's kind of niche. I was like, yeah, it's very important.
Yeah.
I didn't get much pushback.
You know what's amazing though? It's always the women and the moms who are the ones really after the education anyways. So it'll stand the test of time, which is so awesome.
Thank you, Kelly.
I feel like this is my middle son too.
Oh.
It was like 2 weeks ago, he was sick, and my husband and I went to a musical last night. We went and saw The Notebook. Like, it was very fun with some friends. We never really get to do that stuff, but we like belong to this little group that like is like, we will see a show at least twice a year.
Nice.
So we went and it was really fun. And I got home, my parents were like, that Tashin has a cough. I don't think you should go to school tomorrow. It's like, 'cause I'm like, it's coming at night, like every night. And the poor kid, like he just can't kick it either.
Oh, it's so annoying. So sorry.
No, you're good.
Where can people find me?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Okay, Jessie, where can they find this book? Where can they follow along if they aren't already, but I bet they are? And where can they learn more?
So the book is called 9 Months That Count Forever, anywhere books are sold. I recommend libraries. No, is that where you call them in English? No, bookstores.
Yes.
Because in French we
Like-
say libraries for a bookstore.
Sweet little independent bookstores.
Bookstores.
Yes.
Bookstores. And then on Instagram, it's at Glucose Goddess.
Amazing.
Thank you for having me,
Thanks
Kelly.
for being here. This was really fun.
Thank you for tuning in to this episode of the Be Well by Kelly LeVeque podcast. If you enjoyed the show, please consider leaving a review in your favorite podcast app and subscribing on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or YouTube. We're also excited to share that full-length video episodes are now on YouTube and Spotify, so you can watch along as you listen. The best way to support me and the show is by sharing it with your friends and family. Your recommendations make all the difference. This is a Wellness Loud production produced by Drake Peterson. The video is recorded by Luke Rodriguez and edited by Jessie Trout. See you next time.
The content of this show is for educational and informational purposes only. It is not a substitute for individual medical or mental health advice and does not constitute a provider-patient relationship. As always, talk to your doctor or healthcare team first.